All right, welcome everybody. My name is Juan Nunez, and I am the practice leader for our data and analytics practice at MicroStrategies. I am joined by my good friends and colleagues in data and analytics. Hello, Frank.
Yeah, and this is Frank Lupo. I am a solution architect with MicroStrategies. Been with MicroStrategies for 8.5 years, representing anything that has to do with data and analytics and capturing data and visualizing data.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to hand off to Bill.
Hi, I'm Bill Shea. I work at as a solutions architect at MicroStrategies. I focus on specializing in visualizations of data in multiple tools.
Hi, I'm Previ, and I'm with MicroStrategies with our data and analytics practice as a practice project manager. So my role really is to help Juan, Frank, Bill, and team with any operational efficiencies they need. So really just to provide with tools and resources they need to make their job easier. And I've been with Micro for over 7 years.
Awesome. And I think Bill and I are the newer comers to the team, about like a year and a half or so. And Bill, there's a plane flying over your head. What's the deal with that?
What's the deal with that? You scared me for a second.
Yeah.
Just need to have some levity for this challenging times of working from home.
That's right. So now that you bring that up, so we're a group of people who like to talk and share ideas and compare notes and solve problems. And I think there is an underlying tone of curiosity. Whenever you talk to Frank or Bill or Previ, there's this curiosity around the world around us and how we can make sense of it and measure it and understand it. Probably that's why we all ended up working in this world. But Bill, you were bringing up some, we're trying to figure out new ways, new things as we're working from home. One of the things we miss is our conversations, is getting together and be able to solve these problems together. We're having to do it over a screen now.
Correct. Yeah, it leads to different interesting dynamics for communicating and staying connected. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that happens sometimes is we work across many customers, and we're helping them and we're accessing their systems. And Frank, do we ever run into any challenges on that?
There's always challenges. No matter what we do, there's always challenges. And I myself face the challenges. Even working with just trying to log in, it's not always a consistent experience.
Yeah. So we have been working in, I mean, the ways of working are changing. The ways of delivering whatever it is that we're doing, our interactions with others are changing. Previ, are there any things that just kind of jump out at you when you think about working from home outside of the kids running in?
Oh, of course. When you're just about to make an important point, you have a child, running in the background asking, "Mommy." But other than that, I mean, take just now, for example, I tried to log into this and connection failed. I had to figure out different ways to download different applications and then finally be able to connect and get my audio and video working. That's just, I wasn't expecting that, right? So here you are a few minutes late into the meeting. But right, so those are just some of the examples of challenges.
Yeah, we were talking about these things, and we were suspecting that many of you out there and many of the people that are working, and they're balancing a lot of things, but they're also running into these things. So what we started to ask ourselves was, okay, so what can we do from the data and solutions that are out there, the technologies that are available to us, what can we do to improve the employee experience, the experience of those who are keeping these companies going? How do we support each other, and how do we open up information, make available information, so that we can identify issues as they're happening, go and tackle those issues, resolve those experiential problems. Because if you keep having these challenges, it's just additive to everything else we're having to go through. So we wanted to have, and we've continued to have these conversations where we get together and try to figure these things out. And I think we've hit on some interesting and useful tips and tools and things that we can look at. We'd like to share those with you. In a way, we just kind of invite you into our conversation to see what we've been up to. So Bill, Frank, do you guys want to, maybe we can start looking through what we've been looking at and how we've been thinking about this set of issues, and how we're using data or thinking about using data?
So I think it's trying to leverage the data that we have, that we've collected from the system level, and trying to gain insights around a remote workforce now versus just standard operations, right? So really trying to look at the data that's available and pull it together and provide a context around how we can best feel how the experience the end users are having with the systems.
Mm-hmm.
So Frank, what do you have hidden over there in your screen? You always look at something. Would you mind sharing your screen?
Sure.
What were you Googling, Frank?
So there's several things that come to thought when we're actually looking at the workforce. So we're trying to make sure we ease or make as frictionless the effort to actually access our systems. So I think if we look at a couple different tools, and currently a couple different providers are offering tools to look at the network, look at Office 365, look at various solutions, and kind of understand, are people able to, or workers able to access their systems in a rapid and easy fashion? And I think the very first one, which we started looking at, was really Office 365, because there's a management API that really allows one to understand connectivity, degradation, utilization. So we look at it a couple different aspects: that are folks able to connect? Are folks able to manage and generate meetings? Are folks able to upload and pull down documents? And finally, are emails flowing and moving? So those are kind of the highlighted areas. And that's where, for the number one app that we found was, all right, the management API, we have a pre-built app that we could leverage from Splunk. We could pull that together. And now some of the other areas that we want to look at are the connectivity to the home office and be able to manage that. So we look at utilization applications, the ability and capability and scalability of the actual VPNs, and the actual network getting to and from the home office or to the cloud, because any of these things could affect worker productivity.
And really, I think we also try to look at how do we enhance that beyond what's there, right? So how do we take this data and what can we add to it to become proactive and try to see issues that before we start getting calls about them, right? So So we're also trying to evaluate what would be beneficial, what kind of data to go after to help us be proactive on maybe ISP outages or things like that too.
Right. So the concept possibly is maybe we leverage some of the out-of-box Splunk utilities. We tie it together with maybe like the Verizon or the FiOS upload download speed. So every provider has their testing utilities. So maybe we could tie that together with some of these items from Splunk and leveraging the Microsoft APIs. And that's just one aspect of it, because while Microsoft O365 may be commonplace, it's not the entirety of the ecosystem. So we probably should look at home connectivity to sort of maybe your Salesforce, your Snowflake, your ServiceNow, all your different providers, and try to make the experience as robust as possible, and as frictionless as possible.
So Previ, a quick question for you. I wanna get your perspective on this. So we're talking about, you know, just getting data and these views onto different things. So as a person accessing these systems, would this be helpful to you? How would you, if you know that we're looking at this stuff, what would be helpful or maybe not helpful, or what, any concerns? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think having this data is helpful, but I think what would probably make it a little bit more powerful is maybe trying to understand the initial, at the onset, what are the questions that we're trying to answer, right? And then use the data as a supporting tool to get more insights into, well, what problem do I want to solve for my workforce, right? Is it like I just had initially just now, I'm not able to connect, right? So is that my primary goal? And looking at the data as a supporting to kind of, it gives me would give me a more powerful way to answer and solve the problem, as opposed to kind of getting lost in all the data that is available, right? Because there's a ton of data available. So really, I think having a clear picture goal of what I want to accomplish might be a great place to start.
So what are some of the questions that, I guess you pointed to connectivity. Are people having the ability to connect? Are they having some trouble connecting? What other questions come to mind, guys? Bill, Frank?
Well, like I mentioned a little earlier, are there a certain group of users in a certain area that are having connectivity issues, and what are their failure connections or failure reasons for those connections? Or is it really widespread? Was it more of a network type, our internal network causing issues? Or, you know, the first one could be ISP related or area related, versus if it's widespread, it could be something that we'd have to look at internally. So yeah, I agree with Pravi, is being able to kind of analyze the failures of connections coming in, just to see if it's a point issue or widespread issue.
And so taking it back to the experience of those employees, and then Frank, you were talking about their experience. And we were talking about Microsoft 365. The challenge, you have those out of the box apps, and I think what you guys are saying is, yeah, you have an out of the box app that can give you a slice of data and a whole bunch of data about a slice, but our experiences are way broader than that, right? As teams trying to work together, way broader than that. How do you think about that, Frank?
Well, the experience that we need to explore is really on the desktop or the laptop itself, because I think currently some of the solutions that we see are monitoring the endpoint or the actual target, not the actual endpoint. So that is kind of where I see that we'll probably have to look at different aspects, maybe the call center data from actual help desk calls coming in, and tie that to actual physical interactivity with the network.
So,
Right.
Because probably the one thing we'll want to see now that we're working remotely, what are our points of entry, sort of our delivery mechanisms in a traditional sales force or a touch point. So in this particular case now, it's not going to be in the office. The issues are going to be where are they calling and for help, and how are they reaching out for help? So are they sending emails through third-party systems outside of the corporate network, or is there a help desk number? So what are the means in which the workforce is able to contact and ask for help if there is an issue? So I guess those numbers we should probably evaluate in addition to the technical touch points.
yeah.
Another aspect too, kind of switching gears a little bit, is also trying to measure connectedness. How well are employees staying connected to each other and to our customers? And I think we try to see some of that through video meeting statistics and things like that, or video conference information to see how many people are joining meetings, how many meetings we're having, length of those meetings, just to get an understanding if there's challenges there or not.
So here's the one thing that concerns me about hardcore statistics about a specific area, right? So for example, longest meeting was 89.92 minutes, right? Was that meeting valuable to people? Was there any business getting done? Were we supporting our customers? Were we supporting each other? I think we cannot. One of the things that we have to be cautious with is there is a very important people aspect that we have to consider in these numbers, right? So maybe, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
That 89-minute meeting was probably our happy hour get together.
Yeah, that's a great point. So a lot of value is being gained out of that.
Exactly.
Or even
most of the meetings are only 10 minutes long.
Right, or now virtual design sessions, right? These aren't just quick meetings, status meetings, this, that, right? You're now having to do design sessions remotely, right? When you're actually working sessions.
Correct, leading to the connectedness, right? Staying connected while we're separated, yeah. Because notice the average meetings are only 10 minutes long. That's kind of our stand-up development meetings, right?
They're supposed to be 15.
But we're really efficient, so.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the other point I was thinking about is also what's new nowadays is that people aren't truly just, it's not simply just a work from home situation, right? So you're supporting your kids' school stuff too. So I think what has shifted is the typical, I'm gonna work from home today from 9 to 5 has changed to, maybe it's 8 in the morning till, who knows, 10 at night, with gaps of, periods of time that's not probably work focused, but really your children focused, right? You're now become their school teachers, right? So trying to understand what are the typical, tendencies of people actually being able to focus on getting whatever they need to get done for work versus things that are not really work productivity, right?
One of the things, so these metrics are very valuable, right? So and actually it's funny because we brought it up and we've been going through these metrics quite a bit. What we like about this is that we can actually start to see a more holistic picture of the touch points, the areas that we are interacting with, right? As a team, we access our company and we'll use Zoom, we'll use VPN, we'll use all these connection points. all of those places, it is really good to get information about them, specifically when there are issues, so that we can do something about it, so that we can detect when there's problems that are arising and affecting our teams, and be able to squash those problems, fix
Right.
them, take care of it. Because I think what we're talking about is that there's so many things going on. But what we want to do is be able to reduce the noise in the areas that we can do that for our teams. Having access to data that allows us to do that is extremely valuable. We can deploy our support teams to be able to solve those issues, and let our teams be able to interact and be productive and work together, and ultimately deliver the value that they're there for, right? So so Frank, do you want to spend just I know we've been clicking around through the conversation, but are there some things that you like to highlight on the remote work insight app that we've been working with?
I think there's a couple aspects. I mean, what's interesting as we start working with this thing, so not everyone has the endpoints that the current application works with. So for example, VPN sessions, they're using a cloud-based provider to support active VPN sessions. So what we realize, it does take some work to actually understand where all the logins are coming in, and actually then determine what is an active VPN session. Because what I have found now as we pull this stuff together, there could be some misconfigurations in the connectivities that we're finding. So for example, are we looking at VPN connections? Are we looking at connections to various systems? So for example, somebody connects in to one system, but ultimately, let's say they're on Office 365, but if there's a daemon that's actually trying to connect to Office 365, now all of a sudden, all the connections look like failed connections because that thing is polling. So if we have, let's say, 200 folks and each one polls every hour, you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of failed connections. So what we're finding is that it's going to take a little time to sort of break down this data and decompose it to actually make it as efficient and as effective of a dashboard as possible.
Yeah.
We move over to Zoom. Not everybody uses Zoom. So we have Teams we're working with, which was the Microsoft. That's kind of how we wound up with the Office 365, is because we want to look at Teams. We have Ring Central. We have vast amounts of video conferencing. They all appear, though, to have some sort of connectivity with the via REST API that we can capture this data. So we're going through that. So that's as we go from left to right. So the concept I think that we see here is, first off, are you able to connect to wherever you want to get to? So are you able to connect to your Office 365? Are you able to connect to home office? And I guess it also depends now how much on-prem stuff you have versus cloud stuff you have. Because this may be a conversation of connecting to GCP, AWS, or Azure, less than trying to connect to home office. So it's several different ways to look at this thing.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things that we're finding as we start to implement this for our customers, we've done it for ourselves, we're doing for our customers, is that the out of the box offering it's great. We're actually finding that there's quite a bit of work in additional things that we're figuring out already. You have a different VPN client, you use WebEx instead of Zoom, you have a different explanation of the issues that are coming up. So those are things we've been working to figure out, and we're already doing, so you can actually take advantage of this. But just kind of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, And what's interesting about this whole remote worker insights, everyone has a different perception and concept, because I think we want to focus on making the effort or making the experience of working from home as best as possible. It's not a matter of looking at a worker's productivity, because those are a whole different set of metrics. And it's not about looking at operational effectiveness or operations, because many of those items are taken by the ops teams. This is really trying to understand making the worker's life as easy as possible, because how many times are you home and you just want something to just get that quick ability to print something, that quick ability to log in and check your email, and you don't want to spend 45 minutes with the help desk trying to reboot, do this, do that. So we're trying to make that experience better, because personally,
Right.
I have one account I work with that I reboot every time I got to log into it.
So, and I'm sure. I mean, well, you know, it's kind of funny, but it's not, because it's really a pain when you run into those things. So, so in summary, I think you said it great, Frank, and Pravi, Bill. You guys were really honing into how do we make the experience better. The work from home thing is not going away. There are additional data sets that are going to become more and more relevant in understanding how does that whole environment come together. And again, this is not going away anytime soon. Things are going to change, yes, but we will still have a considerable amount of people working from home. So how do we best support them? We'll continue this conversation. We'll continue digging into it. We'll continue integrating additional data points. But I love what you guys said about, look, this is not to look at people and when they're logging in and when they're logging out. We can actually, that doesn't help anybody. It's really about how do we make sure that we set up a proper environment for them to interact with the company, support our customers, be able to deliver on the value that our company brings to market, and how do we make their lives easier when it's already complex enough. We should continue this conversation, guys, but I think for today, we should wrap it up. I want to thank you, Frank, Pravi. Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. We should continue this discussion and invite more people to join us and share their thoughts as well.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ron.
Here.